The second I walked through Chloe's parents' front door, with her best friend on my arm, her dad stopped chewing. Chloe had a wine glass halfway to her mouth. Her mom was holding a serving spoon over a bowl of mashed potatoes. Nobody said a word. 10 people were sitting around that table, and every single one of them was staring at Lily, like she'd just walked into a funeral wearing a red dress, which honestly wasn't that far off. Lily tightened her grip on my arm and whispered, "Mark, what the hell are you doing?" I didn't answer her. I looked straight at Chloe. She'd been smiling when we came in. Not a happy smile, more like she'd been waiting all afternoon to catch me doing something stupid. That smile disappeared fast. I pulled out the empty chair next to me, but didn't sit down. "Thanks for waiting, everybody," I said. "Sorry we're late. Actually, I've got some news before dinner." Chloe slowly put down her glass. "Mark?" I looked around the table, then back at her. The wedding's off. Her mom dropped the serving spoon. It hit the bowl with a loud clank. Chloe's dad pushed his chair back. "What did you just say?" Lily's nails dug into my arm. I could feel her starting to shake. I nodded toward her. "Lily asked me to meet her at a hotel today. Then she made it pretty clear she wanted me. So I figured Chloe should hear about how close her best friend and her fiancé got this afternoon." Chloe went completely white. Lily jerked her hand away from me. "Are you freaking insane?" And that was when the room exploded. But that wasn't where this started. 7 days earlier, I still thought I was getting married. I'm an engineer, and my life is usually boring in the best possible way. Work, gym, when I actually had the energy, dinner, maybe a beer. Then arguing with Chloe about what we were watching on Netflix. We'd been together for 3 years. I'd proposed 8 months earlier at this little restaurant outside Columbus, where we'd had our second date. Nothing crazy. No photographer hiding behind a plant. No giant sign. No drone dropping a ring from the sky. I just waited until dessert, reached across the table and said, "Hey, I kind of want to keep doing this with you forever." Chloe laughed because she thought I was joking. Then I pulled out the ring. She cried so hard that the couple at the next table started clapping before I even got down on one knee. That was Chloe. She could be sweet, funny, loud, and completely ridiculous. She was also suspicious as hell. I knew that part before I proposed. If my phone buzzed at 11 at night, she'd glance at it. If some woman from work liked one of my Instagram posts, Chloe would notice. She watched all those TikToks about cheating husbands, secret second phones, guys with 2 families in different states. Sometimes she'd shove her phone in my face and say, "Look at this asshole. His wife found out because his Apple Watch synced his texts." I'd laugh and say, "Good thing I'm too lazy to maintain a second family." She'd laugh too. At least I thought she was laughing. The wedding planning made it worse. Suddenly everything became a question. Why did I want a bachelor party? Who was going? Would there be women there? Why did my coworker Jenna text me about a project after 6? Why did I follow a girl from college I hadn't spoken to in 6 years? Most of the time, I answered because I had nothing to hide. I even handed Chloe my phone once and said, "Seriously, go nuts. Read whatever you want." She pushed it back and told me she trusted me. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. About a month before the wedding, she started talking about a new friend from work named Lily. I heard that name constantly. Lily said this. Lily thinks that. Lily's ex cheated on her. Lily says men always show who they really are right before marriage. I didn't care. Chloe made friends easily, and if she liked Lily, cool. Then one Thursday evening, I finally met her. I was in the kitchen, cutting chicken, when Chloe came through the front door with this woman behind her. Lily was probably around our age, late 20s, maybe 30. Dark hair, expensive-looking coat, heels that sounded like gunshots on our hardwood floor. She looked me up and down before Chloe even introduced us. Not a quick glance either. I noticed it because it was weird. Chloe said, "Mark, this is Lily. Lily, future husband." Lily smiled and held out her hand. "So, you're the famous Mark." I wiped my hand on a towel before shaking hers. "Depends what she told you." Lily laughed. "Oh, everything." Chloe laughed too. I remember looking between them and thinking there was some joke I wasn't in on. Then Chloe opened the fridge and asked if Lily wanted wine. Lily said she couldn't stay. 5 minutes later, she was still standing in our kitchen asking me where I worked, how long Chloe and I had been together, whether I traveled for work, even whether I'd ever had a serious girlfriend before Chloe. I finally laughed and said, "Damn, is this a background check?" Lily smiled. "Maybe." Chloe bumped her shoulder and said, "Stop messing with him." They both laughed again. The next afternoon, Lily texted me. I didn't even know she had my number. "Hey, it's Lily. Chloe gave me your number. Weird favor. Are you anywhere near Westerville?" I was leaving work and happened to be about 15 minutes away. Her car supposedly wouldn't start outside a grocery store. I almost told her to call roadside assistance, but then I thought, this is Chloe's friend. Don't be a dick. So I drove over. Her car was sitting in the parking lot, but when I got there, she was leaning against it, drinking iced coffee like she had nowhere else to be. I asked what happened. She said, "It just wouldn't start. I got in, turned the key, and the engine started immediately." Lily stared at me, then laughed. "Of course it does that when a man shows up." I told her, "Apparently I'm a mechanic now." She touched my arm and said, "Chloe really did get lucky." It was a small thing, but her hand stayed there a second too long. I stepped back and told her she should probably get the battery checked. She smiled like she'd noticed me stepping away. Saturday night, around 11:30, my phone buzzed while Chloe was asleep next to me. It was Lily again. "Still awake?" Before I could answer, another message came in. "Wish you were here." Then, maybe 10 seconds later, "OMG wrong mark. Sorry, LOL." I stared at the screen. I didn't know another way to read that. I wrote, "No worries," locked my phone, and put it face down. The next morning, I showed Chloe, because I didn't want some stupid misunderstanding later. She looked at the messages for maybe 2 seconds and shrugged. "She's dating a guy named Marcus." Probably meant him. I said, "Marcus?" Chloe was already pouring coffee. "Yeah." Something about her answer felt off. Not enough to start a fight. Just off. She didn't ask why Lily was texting me that late. She didn't make one of her usual jokes. For a woman who once asked why a female dentist followed me on Instagram, she was suddenly unbelievably relaxed about her new best friend sending me "Wish you were here" at midnight. Over the next few days, Lily kept finding reasons to contact me. She asked what laptop she should buy. Then she sent me 2 pictures of dresses and asked which one looked better. I didn't answer that one. Then she sent a selfie from a bar with, "Chloe bailed on me, rude." I showed Chloe again. "Your friend's kinda weird." Chloe barely looked up from her phone. "She's just friendly, Mark," I said. "Yeah, well, she's getting real friendly with my number." Chloe rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you complain when I'm jealous? And now you're complaining because I'm not jealous?" I didn't have an answer to that. She kissed my cheek and walked upstairs. I stood there with my phone in my hand, staring at Lily's selfie. I should have understood right then that something wasn't right. I didn't. Not yet. I found out 2 nights later because Chloe forgot to close her laptop. Chloe's laptop was sitting open on the kitchen table when I came downstairs for water. She was upstairs taking a shower, and I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear I wasn't. I walked past it, opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle, and then I heard that little notification sound. The screen lit up. Lily's name was right there. Under it was a message that said, "Saturday is perfect. I booked the room." I stopped with the fridge door still open behind me. Cold air was hitting my back. For maybe 5 seconds, I just stood there, staring at those words. My first thought was that they were planning some wedding thing. Maybe a surprise. Maybe Lily was booking a room for Chloe's bachelorette party. Then another message popped up. "What if he doesn't come?" I closed the fridge. Another message appeared almost immediately. "Trust me, I'll get him there." I don't know why, but my stomach dropped before I even touched the laptop. I walked over, put the water down, and stared at the open chat. Chloe hadn't logged out. Their entire conversation was sitting there. I should probably say this clearly. I'd never gone through Chloe's messages before. Not once. She'd gone through mine a couple times early in our relationship, And we'd had arguments about it, but I never did it back. I hated that kind of relationship. If you're checking somebody's phone every night, what the hell are you even doing together? But this wasn't me opening her laptop and searching for something. Their chat was already open, and my name was all over it. I scrolled up. The first message that really got me was from Chloe. "Don't make it too obvious. If you come on too strong, he'll know something's up." Lily had replied, "Girl, relax. I know how to flirt." Then Chloe, "I need to know before I marry him." I read that sentence 3 times. My hand was still resting on the trackpad. I could hear the shower running upstairs. Somewhere outside, a dog was barking. Everything around me felt completely normal, which somehow made what I was reading even worse. I kept scrolling. They'd been planning this for days. The grocery store thing wasn't an accident. Lily's car had been completely fine. The late-night text wasn't meant for some guy named Marcus. There was no Marcus. The dress pictures, the selfie, the touching, all of it had been planned. Chloe wanted Lily to slowly push things further and see whether I'd respond. Lily had even written after the grocery store, "He backed away when I touched him. Your boy is behaving so far." Chloe replied with a laughing emoji and, "Give it time." I actually pulled my hand away from the laptop when I read that. Give it time. Like I was some dog they were training. Then I found the hotel plan. Lily had booked a room for Saturday afternoon. She was supposed to text me that morning and say her laptop had crashed while she was working on something important. Since I'm the computer guy, apparently that was enough of an excuse. I'm not even a computer guy. I'm a mechanical engineer. Chloe knows that, but I'd fixed her laptop twice, so I guess that made the story believable enough. Then I saw the part about the camera. Lily wrote, "Where should I put my phone?" Chloe replied, "Somewhere he can't see it, maybe by the TV. Just make sure you get both of you in frame." Lily asked, "How far do you want me to go?" Chloe's answer came right under it. "As far as you need to. I want to know what he does when he thinks nobody will ever find out." My mouth went dry. I sat down. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't shaking. I didn't even feel like smashing anything. That would have almost been easier. I just sat there reading while something in my head slowly shut off. 3 years. We'd picked a venue. We'd paid deposits. My mom had already bought her dress. My brother had booked a flight. Chloe and I had spent 2 hours the previous Sunday arguing about whether we needed 12 centerpieces or 14, and the whole time she was secretly arranging for another woman to try to get me into bed on camera. The shower stopped upstairs. That snapped me out of it. I heard the pipes knock inside the wall, then Chloe moving around in the bathroom. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures of the conversation. Not every message, just enough. The fake car problem, the late-night text, the hotel, the hidden camera, Chloe telling Lily to push harder. My hands finally started shaking then, and I nearly dropped my phone. I took maybe 15 pictures, put everything back exactly where it had been, grabbed my water, and walked into the living room. 30 seconds later, Chloe came downstairs, wearing sweatpants and one of my old college shirts. She walked right past me, opened the fridge, and said, "Did you drink the last sparkling water?" I looked at her. She had wet hair hanging over her shoulders. No makeup, bare feet. The woman I was supposed to marry in less than a month. "No," I said. "There's one in the back." She found it and smiled. "You're the best." Then she leaned down and kissed me on the forehead. That kiss almost made me say something. I wanted to ask her what the hell was wrong with her. I wanted to put my phone on the table, pull up the pictures, and make her explain every single message. But then she picked up her laptop and said, "I'm going to finish some work upstairs." I watched her walk away, and this weird calm came over me. If I confronted her right then, I already knew what would happen. She'd cry. She'd tell me she was scared because she loved me. She'd say Lily talked her into it. She'd call it a mistake. Maybe she'd even convince herself that this whole thing was somehow reasonable. And I'd spend the next 3 weeks wondering whether I was supposed to forgive her, because invitations had already gone out. Screw that. I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and looked at the pictures again. There was one message near the bottom I hadn't really processed the first time. Chloe had written, "If he fails, don't tell him I knew. Let me confront him at dinner. My parents will be there, and I want him to have nowhere to run." I stared at that one for a long time. So that was the plan. This wasn't just some stupid, private test between two insecure friends. Chloe wanted an audience. She wanted me sitting in her parents' house while she exposed me in front of both families. She'd already decided where the confrontation would happen before I'd even done anything. I zoomed in on the message and took one more screenshot. Then I emailed every picture to myself, deleted the sent email from my phone, and walked back downstairs. Chloe was on the couch when I came in. She looked up and smiled. "Everything okay?" I sat beside her and said, "Yeah, just tired." She put her legs across mine and went back to watching TV. About 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Lily. I already knew what it was before I opened it. "Hey Mark, sorry to bother you. I'm having a laptop emergency Saturday, and Chloe said you might be able to help. I'll owe you big time." I read it, looked at Chloe sitting 2 feet away from me, then typed, "Sure, send me the address." Chloe didn't move, but I saw the corner of her mouth lift for half a second while she stared at the TV. That was when I decided I was going to that hotel. Saturday morning, Lily texted me at 9:17. "Hey, sorry again. Any chance you can come around too? I'm at the Hampton downtown. Room 417. This stupid laptop won't even turn on now." I was standing in the kitchen when it came through. Chloe was making toast behind me, acting like she had no idea what was happening. I looked at the message, then at her. "Lily's having computer problems," I said. Chloe didn't even turn around. "Oh yeah? That sucks." I almost laughed. She was terrible at this. "She wants me to stop by her hotel this afternoon." That finally got a reaction. Chloe turned with the butter knife in her hand and tried way too hard to look casual. "Why is she at a hotel?" I shrugged. "No clue." Chloe took a bite of toast and said, "Well, if it's quick, help her out. She's helped me a lot with wedding stuff." There it was. Permission. She was literally sending me into the trap herself. I said, "Sure, shouldn't take long." Chloe smiled and kissed my cheek. "You're sweet." I had to look away because I didn't trust my face anymore. I spent the next couple hours doing normal Saturday stuff, laundry, coffee. I took the trash out. Chloe sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone like this was any other weekend. Every few minutes, I caught her typing fast, then putting her phone down when I walked past. Around 1:30, I went upstairs and changed into jeans and a clean shirt. Chloe called from downstairs. "You leaving?" I said, "Yeah." She came to the bottom of the stairs. "For Lily?" "Yep." She nodded, but I could see the excitement in her face. That was the part that really got me. She wasn't scared. She wasn't nervous about what might happen. She looked excited to find out whether I'd screw up. Before I left, she said, "Hey, we still have dinner at my parents' tonight. 6:30. Don't forget." I stopped with my hand on the door. Of course. The dinner. The place where she planned to confront me if I failed. I turned back and said, "Wouldn't miss it." Then I walked outside. The hotel was about 25 minutes away. I drove there with the radio off. I kept thinking about how easy it would be to turn around, go home, put the screenshots in front of Chloe, and end it privately. Part of me wanted to do exactly that, but then I kept seeing that message in my head. "Let me confront him at dinner. My parents will be there, and I want him to have nowhere to run." She wanted a show. Fine. I wasn't going to scream or throw anything. I wasn't going to insult her. I just wasn't going to protect her from the mess she created. When I pulled into the hotel parking lot, I sat in my truck for maybe 2 minutes. My hands were tight around the steering wheel. I took one long breath, checked that the screenshots were still saved in 2 places, and got out. I knocked on room 417 at exactly 2. Lily opened the door almost immediately. She was wearing a white bathrobe. Not hotel pajamas, not normal clothes, a bathrobe. Her hair was done, she had makeup on, and I could smell perfume before I even stepped inside. She smiled and said, "Wow, right on time." I looked past her into the room. "You said it was an emergency." She laughed and moved aside. "Come in, hero." The laptop was sitting on the desk near the window. There was also a bottle of wine on the dresser with 2 glasses already poured. I noticed a phone propped against something near the TV. The camera was pointed directly toward the bed and the little sitting area. If I hadn't read the chat, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. Lily closed the door behind me and said, "Want wine?" I looked at the glass. "At 2 in the afternoon?" She shrugged. "It's Saturday." "I'm driving." "1 glass won't kill you." I said, "I'm good." I walked over to the laptop and pressed the power button. It turned on. Of course it did. I looked back at Lily. "Seems pretty alive to me." She leaned against the desk beside me. It was being weird earlier. Her robe had opened slightly at the top, and she made absolutely no attempt to fix it. I moved half a step away. What was it doing? She looked at the screen for maybe 1 second. Freezing, I don't know. Computer stuff. I almost smiled. Computer stuff? Don't make fun of me. She touched my forearm. I'm bad with this crap. I clicked around for a minute just to keep the thing going. There was nothing wrong with the laptop. No error. No updates stuck. Nothing. Behind me, I heard Lily pick up one of the wine glasses. "You know," she said, "Chloe talks about you constantly." I kept looking at the screen. Hopefully mostly good things. "Mostly," I turned around. "Mostly?" Lily smiled over the rim of the glass. "She worries about you." I knew exactly where this was going, but hearing it out loud still made my jaw tighten. What does that mean? Lily sat on the edge of the bed and crossed her legs. "Women. Attention. You know." I said, "That sounds like something Chloe should talk to me about." Lily laughed softly. "Dude, relax. I'm not attacking you." Then she patted the mattress beside her. "Come sit down. The laptop can wait." I stayed where I was. She watched me for a second, then glanced toward the phone near the TV. Just a tiny look, half a second, but I caught it. That little glance told me everything. The camera was running, Chloe was waiting, and the real test had finally started. I walked over and sat in the chair across from the bed instead. Lily looked at the empty space beside her and laughed. "Seriously? You're gonna sit all the way over there?" I leaned back. "You said you needed help with your laptop. Laptop works." She took another sip of wine. "Maybe I wanted company too." "Then why didn't you say that?" She stared at me for a few seconds, like she was trying to figure out whether I was nervous or just stupid. Then she stood up and walked toward me. The robe moved open a little more. She stopped right in front of my chair. "Mark, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you really ready to get married?" I looked straight at her. "That's a weird question." She shrugged. "It's an honest question." Then she lowered her voice. "Because sometimes people get close to a wedding and realize they're about to make a huge mistake." I could hear the air conditioner humming behind her. Somewhere in the hallway, a housekeeping cart rolled past the door. I kept thinking about Chloe sitting somewhere staring at her phone, waiting for Lily to send her the result. I said, "Do you think marrying Chloe is a mistake?" Lily smiled. "I didn't say that." "You kinda did." She put her wine glass down and leaned against the desk. "I'm saying you're still young. You're about to promise yourself to one person forever. Doesn't that freak you out? Even a little?" I shrugged. "Not really." She studied my face. "Come on, man. Everybody thinks about other people. Thinking and doing are different things." She smiled again. "Okay. So you've never looked at another woman since you started dating Chloe?" I laughed. "Of course I've looked. I'm not blind." "Exactly." She stepped closer. "And you've never wondered what it would be like?" There was nothing subtle about it anymore. I could have ended the whole thing right there. I could have pointed at the phone and asked whether Chloe was enjoying the show. Instead, I decided to give Lily exactly what she thought she wanted. I looked at her for a few seconds, then said, "You know what? Maybe you're right." Her expression changed immediately. She tried to hide it, but I saw the little flash in her eyes. She sat on the arm of my chair. "About what?" I said. "Maybe I have been thinking about things." Her knee touched mine. "What kind of things?" I looked at her, then deliberately glanced down at her robe. When I looked back up, she was almost smiling. "Things I probably shouldn't be thinking about," Lily whispered. "You can tell me." I could practically hear her thinking, "We got him." She touched my shoulder. I let her. Then she leaned closer and said, "Whatever happens in this room doesn't have to leave this room." That line almost made me laugh. There was literally a camera recording us 6 feet away. I said, "You really mean that?" "Yeah." "Chloe never has to know?" Lily paused for maybe half a second. "Never!" That was it for me. I stood up so suddenly she had to step back. She looked confused. I walked toward the door, and for the first time I saw a little panic on her face. "Wait, where are you going?" I grabbed my keys from the desk. "You're coming with me." She blinked. "What?" I smiled. "Lily, you're an amazing woman. Let's not waste our time here." Her mouth opened slightly. She looked at me, then toward the bed, then back at me. "What are you talking about?" I said. "You said I'm about to make a huge mistake." "Maybe you're right. Maybe we shouldn't hide this in some hotel room." She stared at me. "Mark, slow down." "Why?" "You wanted to know if I was interested. Now you know." She looked toward the phone again. I pretended not to notice. "Get dressed. I want to take you somewhere." She asked, "Where?" I opened the door and said, "Trust me." I stepped into the hallway and waited. The door closed behind me. I could hear Lily moving around inside. I checked my phone. Nothing from Chloe. I wondered if Lily was texting her, and later I found out she absolutely was. She sent Chloe, "Holy shit." He went for it. Then another one. "He wants to take me somewhere. I think he's completely lost his mind." Chloe replied, "Come to dinner, bring him here. My parents are already coming early." I didn't know the exact messages yet, but I knew they were talking. Lily took almost 10 minutes. When the door opened again, she was wearing a tight dark red dress and heels, carrying a small purse. I looked at her and said, "Wow, you changed fast." She gave me this nervous smile. "You said somewhere special." "It is." She asked again where we were going. I said, "You'll see." The ride was weird as hell. Lily kept trying to figure out what I was doing without directly asking. "Are we getting drinks?" "Nope." "Going to your place?" "No." "Then where?" I kept driving. About 10 minutes in, she said, "Does Chloe think you're still fixing my laptop?" I looked at her. "Why do you care?" She immediately said, "I don't. I'm just asking." I nodded. "Yeah, she thinks I'm with you." Lily went quiet. Her phone was in her lap, and every couple minutes, she typed something with the screen turned away from me. I didn't say anything. When we got closer to Chloe's parents' neighborhood, Lily finally recognized the area. She sat up straighter. "Wait, where are we?" I said. "Almost there." She looked through the windshield, then at me. "Mark, seriously, what are you doing?" "You'll find out in about 2 minutes." When I turned onto Chloe's parents' street, Lily stopped touching her phone. "No, dude, no. Why are we going here?" I kept driving. "Dinner." "What dinner?" "Chloe's family dinner, remember?" She probably mentioned it. Lily stared at me like I'd just pulled a gun. "Mark, I'm not going in there." "Why not?" "Because this is insane." I pulled up in front of the house and shut off the engine. Through the dining room window, I could see people moving around inside. My mom's car was parked behind Chloe's dad's SUV. My brother was there too. Everybody had shown up. Exactly the audience Chloe wanted. Lily grabbed my arm before I could open the door. "Listen to me. We should go back to the hotel." I looked down at her hand. "Why?" "Because we need to talk first." "About what?" Her breathing had gotten faster. "About what happened." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I agree. Everybody should hear about what happened." Her face changed. "Everybody." I got out of the truck. Lily stayed inside for a few seconds, but then she followed me. She could have left. She could have called an Uber and disappeared. But I think she still believed she had control because she had the video. Maybe she thought Chloe would jump in the second things got uncomfortable and explain the test. I waited on the sidewalk while she walked around the truck. Mark, this is a terrible idea. I held out my arm. Come on. You wanted to find out what kind of man I am, right? She froze, just for a second. Her eyes locked on mine. I smiled like I hadn't said anything strange. We're already late. We walked up the driveway together. I could feel Lily getting more tense with every step. At the door, she whispered, "Please don't do anything stupid." I rang the bell. Chloe's mom opened it with a huge smile that disappeared the second she saw Lily holding my arm. Behind her, everybody was already sitting around the table. Chloe looked up. She had a wine glass in her hand and that little confident smile on her face. Then she saw Lily's dress, then my arm, then my face, and the entire room went silent. Chloe stared at us for so long that her mom finally looked back at her like she was waiting for instructions. Lily tried to pull her arm away from mine, but I held it there just long enough for everyone to notice. My mom was sitting near the end of the table beside my brother. Chloe's dad, Richard, was at the head. Her aunt and uncle were there too, along with her younger sister and grandparents. Nobody understood what they were looking at. Richard pushed his chair back. "Mark?" I stepped inside and closed the door behind us. Lily whispered, "Dude, seriously, stop." I ignored her. Chloe put her glass down carefully. "What is she doing here?" Her voice was calm, but I could see her fingers squeezing the stem. I said, "Actually, that's what I wanted to talk about." Chloe looked at Lily. Lily looked at me. Neither one seemed sure who was supposed to speak first. I walked toward the table. "Sorry we're late. We had a pretty interesting afternoon." My brother frowned. "What happened?" I nodded toward Lily. "She invited me to a hotel room." My mom immediately said, "What?" Chloe didn't move. Richard stood up. "Excuse me?" Lily finally pulled away from me. "Okay, Mark, enough." "This isn't funny," I said. "I'm not joking." Then I looked directly at Chloe. "The wedding's off." Her face changed. That confidence she'd had when I walked in disappeared. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about our wedding. There isn't gonna be one." Chloe stood so fast, her chair scraped across the floor. "Because of her?" I nodded toward Lily. "Your best friend invited me to a hotel, opened the door in a bathrobe, poured wine, sat on the bed, and told me you never had to know what happened in that room." Lily shouted, "That is not what happened." I looked at her. "Really? Which part did I get wrong?" "You know exactly what happened." "Actually, I do." Chloe's mom covered her mouth. My mom was staring at me like she wanted to ask 20 questions, but didn't know where to start. Chloe came around the table. "Mark, stop, right now." I said, "Why?" "You wanted everybody here." That stopped her. Her eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" I reached into the inside pocket of my jacket. Lily saw it and went pale. I had printed the screenshots that morning at a copy shop because I didn't want this turning into some stupid argument about edited pictures on my phone. I put the folded pages on the table in front of Richard. Chloe looked down at them but didn't touch them. Richard did. He picked up the first page and started reading. The room got quiet again. I watched his eyes move down the paper. His forehead tightened. He turned to the second page. Chloe said, "Dad, give me that." Richard lifted one hand without looking at her. "Hold on." Lily started talking fast. "Mr. Bennett, it's not what it looks like. Chloe was worried, and I was helping her. Nothing actually happened." Richard finally looked up. "Helping her do what?" Nobody answered. I pulled out another page and placed it beside his plate. "That one has the hotel plan," Chloe snapped. "Why were you reading my private messages?" I actually laughed because I couldn't believe that was her first move. "Your private messages about secretly recording me?" "You went through my laptop. It was open on our kitchen table with my name all over the screen." "That doesn't give you the right to read it." My brother leaned forward and said, Chloe, are you serious right now? She turned on him. Stay out of this, Matt. He held up both hands. Gladly. But you guys were setting him up? Lily suddenly pulled out her phone. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. It was a fidelity test, that's it. Nothing happened. She unlocked the screen and started searching through her videos. I recorded the whole thing. I can prove he knew exactly what he was doing when he agreed to leave with me. I said, yeah, Lily, please show everyone the hidden camera video you made without telling me. That'll make this look way better. Her thumb stopped moving. My mom looked at Chloe. You knew she was recording him? Chloe's eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I needed to know, she said. Know what? I asked. Whether you'd cheat on me. So, you sent your friend to try to sleep with me? She wasn't actually going to sleep with you. Lily looked at her. Chloe. Chloe waved her off. You know what I mean. I said, no, I really don't. How far was she supposed to go? Chloe didn't answer. I pointed at the papers. Because you wrote, as far as you need to. Your dad just read it. Richard slowly put the pages down. His face was red now. Not yelling red. Worse. The kind where a guy is trying really hard not to lose it in front of everyone. He looked at Chloe and said, tell me these messages aren't real. Chloe wiped her face. Dad, you don't understand. Then explain it. I've been scared. There are so many stories about guys cheating right before weddings, and Lily said it's better to know now than after we're married. Richard looked at Lily. You said that? Lily shook her head. We both talked about it. Chloe immediately said, no, this was mostly your idea. Lily's head snapped toward her. Are you kidding me? You're the one who said you could test him. Because you asked me. You kept pushing it. Lily laughed once, but there was nothing funny about it. Holy shit, Chloe. You literally picked the hotel. That was when their little team started falling apart right in front of everyone. Chloe said, you wanted to do it. Lily fired back, you begged me for 3 days. Chloe's mom said, stop, both of you. Nobody listened. Lily pointed at Chloe. She told me exactly what to wear. She told me to touch him. She told me where to put the phone. Chloe yelled, because you said you'd done this before. The whole table reacted to that. Even I hadn't known that part. Richard looked at Lily. You've done this before? Lily's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Chloe realized she'd said too much and covered her face with both hands. I stood there watching them destroy each other over a plan they'd created together. Then Chloe turned toward me. Okay, fine. It was stupid. I get it. But you passed, Mark. That's the whole point. You didn't cheat, so why are you doing this? I stared at her. You think I passed? Yes. She stepped closer. You didn't touch her. You didn't kiss her. You didn't do anything. We can talk about this at home. I shook my head. There is no home for us anymore. She grabbed my wrist. Don't do this because you're embarrassed. I pulled my hand away. Embarrassed? Chloe, you plan to expose me at this exact table if I failed your little test? She froze again. I tapped the last printed page in front of her dad. You wrote that you wanted me to have nowhere to run. Richard picked up that page, and this time he read Chloe's message out loud. Richard held the page in both hands and read the message slowly. If he fails, don't tell him I knew. Let me confront him at dinner. My parents will be there, and I want him to have nowhere to run. When he finished, nobody said anything. My mom crossed her arms. Richard put the paper on the table and looked at his daughter. You planned this dinner around humiliating him? Chloe shook her head. No, Dad, that's not what I meant. I just read what you meant. I was upset when I wrote that. I said, upset about something I hadn't even done yet? Chloe turned toward me. Mark, please, can we go outside? No? Why not? Because if your plan worked, you weren't taking me outside. You wanted everybody watching. Her mouth opened, but she had nothing. Richard rubbed his forehead. Jesus Christ, Chloe. Lily was still near the doorway with her phone in her hand. Then Chloe pointed at her. She made it worse. Lily laughed. Oh, screw you, Chloe spun around. You did. You asked me to test him. You were supposed to flirt with him, not act like some freaking escort. Lily's face changed. Are you serious? You told me to wear the robe. Chloe said, I didn't tell you to basically flash him. You sent me a picture of the robe. And you told me to pour wine, because you said he gets more relaxed after a drink. I looked at Chloe. My mom said, You wanted him drinking too? Chloe snapped, 1 glass of wine. Stop making it sound like we drugged him. My mom stood up. I'm not making it sound like anything. I'm listening to what you did to my son. Chloe's mom tried to calm everyone down. Can we please sit down and talk like adults? Richard looked at her. About what, Susan? They rented a hotel room and hid a camera. Chloe jumped in. I know it was wrong. I admit it. I screwed up. But nothing happened. She looked at me. Mark, nothing happened. That matters. I said, It matters to you because you got the answer you wanted. Yes, because now I know I can trust you. I stared at her. You had 3 years to figure that out. People change. Then why marry me? Because I love you. You love me enough to secretly record me in a hotel? She wiped her cheeks. I was scared. I said, Then you talk to me. You don't build a trap. Matt, my brother, finally asked, What would have counted as failing? Chloe looked at him. What? What did he have to do? Take the wine? Sit on the bed? Kiss her? Chloe didn't answer. Lily did. She said if he kissed me, it was over. And if he tried to leave with me, that counted too. I nodded. Good to know. Chloe yelled, Lily, shut up! Lily yelled back, Stop blaming me for your plan! Richard slammed his palm on the table. Glasses jumped. Enough! Everybody went silent. He pointed toward Lily. You need to leave. Lily stared at him. Mr. Bennett, I was only trying to help. Leave my house. She grabbed her purse. Before walking out, she looked at Chloe. Don't ever call me again. Chloe laughed through her tears. Trust me, I won't. The front door slammed behind her. Chloe walked toward me and lowered her voice. You knew before you went to the hotel, didn't you? I nodded. Yeah. How long? Since Wednesday. She stared at me. So everything today was fake. Pretty much. You made her think you wanted her. Yep. Chloe's face tightened. You brought her here dressed like that on purpose. Yep. You wanted to humiliate me. I shook my head. No. I wanted you to experience the dinner you planned for me. She stepped back. Susan said, Mark, maybe that was unnecessary. I looked at her. Maybe. But I didn't create this situation. Chloe said, You could have talked to me. I said, You mean like you could have talked to me before sending your friend to seduce me? Chloe started pacing beside the table. I was going to apologize after. After what? After the test. If I passed? She stopped. Yes, I nodded. And if I failed, you were going to destroy me in front of my family. Because then you would have deserved it. There it was. Nobody spoke. Chloe seemed to realize what she'd said a second too late. I looked at her and felt something in me finally go completely still. That's exactly why we're done. She shook her head. Mark, don't make a permanent decision tonight. I already made it. We're 3 weeks from the wedding. Not anymore. I took the empty engagement ring box out of my pocket. I'd brought it because I planned to ask for the ring back after dinner. Chloe saw it and immediately covered her left hand. No, I said. Chloe, no. You're pissed off. Fine. Be pissed off. Sleep at your brother's place. We'll talk tomorrow. There's nothing to talk about. 3 years, Mark. Her voice cracked. You're throwing away 3 years over one stupid mistake. I looked at the papers. This wasn't one mistake. You planned it for a week. Every time Lily texted me, you knew. Every time I showed you those messages, you lied to my face. Then you sat next to me while she invited me to that hotel. Chloe looked down at the ring. I held out my hand. Give it back. She shook her head again. Please don't do this. Richard finally spoke from behind her. His voice was quieter now. Chloe, She turned toward him. He looked exhausted. Give him the ring. Chloe stared at her father, then at me. Her fingers closed around the diamond. For a second, I thought she was going to refuse again. Then she slowly pulled it off. Chloe held the ring between two fingers, but didn't put it in my hand. She just stared at it. Her breathing was uneven, and I could see her trying to come up with something that would stop this. We picked this together, she said. Remember? I said, yeah. You made me try on like 20 rings because you couldn't tell which one I liked. I remember. Then how can you stand there acting like none of that matters? I didn't answer right away. My mom was watching me from the other side of the table. Susan had started quietly crying. Richard was staring down at the printed messages. I finally said, "It mattered. That's why this sucks." Chloe looked up at me. "Then don't leave." I held my hand out again. "The ring." She squeezed it in her fist. "Mark, please." Richard said her name again, quieter this time. Chloe closed her eyes, opened her hand, and dropped the ring into my palm. It made this tiny click against my watch. Weird thing to remember, but I still hear it. I put the ring in the box and slipped it into my pocket. Chloe stared at the pocket, like I just put 3 years of our lives in there. "So that's it?" she asked. "You're just walking out?" I nodded. "Tonight? Yeah. And tomorrow? I'll come get my stuff." She laughed once, wiped her face, and said, "Wow, okay. So you planned that too?" "No, I hoped you'd admit what you did, and at least understand why it was messed up." "I did admit it. You admitted it after your dad read the proof." She stepped closer. "What do you want from me? You want me on my knees? You want me begging in front of everybody?" I shook my head. "I don't want anything from you." That hit harder than yelling would have. Her face went blank. She looked at me for a few seconds, then turned and walked toward the stairs. Susan called after her, but Chloe kept going. A bedroom door slammed upstairs hard enough to shake something on the wall. Nobody knew what to do after that. Dinner was still sitting there. Chicken, potatoes, salad, bread, 2 bottles of wine. 10 minutes earlier, this was supposed to be some happy pre-wedding family thing. Now everybody was staring at their plates. My aunt wasn't there, but Chloe's aunt kept folding and unfolding her napkin. Her grandfather cleared his throat twice and said nothing. I grabbed my jacket from the chair. My mom stood up. "I'm coming with you." I told her, "Mom, you don't have to." "I know." Matt stood too. "Same." Richard walked around the table and stopped in front of me. For a second I thought he was going to defend Chloe or tell me I'd gone too far. Instead, he held out the printed pages. "Take these," I said. "You can keep them." He looked down at the messages again. "No, I've seen enough." Outside, the air felt colder than it had when we arrived. My mom hugged me beside my truck without saying anything. Matt stood there with his hands in his pockets and finally said, "Dude, what the hell?" I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. "Yeah." He shook his head. "I thought you were about to tell us you actually hooked up with Lily. That was kind of the point. You scared the shit out of Mom." My mom slapped his arm. "Not helping." Then she looked at me. "Are you sure about ending it?" I expected her to tell me to calm down or sleep on it. Instead, she said, "I'm asking because once you leave, this gets real." I looked back at the house. The dining room curtains were still open. Richard was standing by the table, while Susan cleaned up plates nobody had touched. "It's already real," I said. I stayed at Matt's place that night. Chloe called before I even got there. Then again. Then 6 more times in maybe 20 minutes. I didn't answer. The texts started right after. "Please come home. We need to talk alone." My family made everything worse. Then, Lily manipulated me. 5 minutes later it became, "You manipulated the whole dinner." Then, "I can't believe you did this to me." I sat on Matt's couch, reading them while he handed me a beer. He asked, "You gonna answer?" I said, "I don't know what I'd say." Another message came in. "At least tell me you're safe." I typed, "I'm at Matt's. I'll come for my stuff tomorrow. I don't want to argue tonight." She replied immediately, "Your stuff? Are you fucking serious? I put the phone face down. The next morning, I woke up around 7 after maybe 3 hours of sleep. My neck hurt from Matt's couch. For about 5 seconds, I forgot what had happened. Then I saw 23 notifications on my phone. Chloe had switched from angry to apologetic sometime around 2 in the morning. There were paragraphs about anxiety, TikTok videos, stories from coworkers, and how Lily had convinced her that loyalty tests were normal. One message said, "Every girl I know has tested a guy somehow." I stared at that sentence. Maybe she actually believed it. That almost made it worse. I didn't respond. Around 10, Matt came with me to the apartment. I didn't ask him to, but he said, "No offense, man, but I'm not letting you walk into that circus alone." Chloe was sitting on the couch when we arrived. Same clothes as the night before. Her eyes were swollen. There was a box of tissues on the coffee table and her laptop beside it. She looked at Matt and said, "Can we have privacy?" He looked at me. I said, "Stay." Chloe laughed bitterly. "Of course." I went upstairs and pulled 2 suitcases from the closet. Chloe followed me. "You're actually moving out today?" "I told you I was." "Where are you going to live?" "Matt's for a few days. Then I'll figure it out." She stood in the bedroom doorway while I opened drawers. "Mark, I canceled the test." I stopped. "What?" "Yesterday morning, I told Lily I didn't want to do it anymore." I looked at her. "Show me." She didn't move. I waited. "Show me the message where you canceled it." Chloe crossed her arms. "I deleted it." I actually laughed. "Come on." "I did." "You deleted one message but kept the entire chat?" "I panicked after dinner and deleted some stuff." I nodded. "Okay." She stepped into the room. "Why won't you believe me?" I looked at her. "You seriously just asked me that?" She looked away. I went back to packing: shirts, jeans, work clothes, shoes. Nothing dramatic, just my life going into 2 suitcases while the woman I was supposed to marry stood 6 feet away, trying to explain why the evidence proving she was innocent had magically disappeared. Then my phone buzzed on the bed. It was Lily. Her message said, "You need to know what Chloe is telling everyone about you." I stared at Lily's message for a few seconds. Chloe noticed my face and immediately asked, "Who is that?" I picked up the phone. "Lily." Chloe moved toward me. "Why is she texting you?" I stepped back before she could see the screen. "Apparently there's something I need to know." Chloe's whole body changed. Her shoulders went stiff. "Block her." I looked at her. "Why?" "Because she's crazy, Mark. She's trying to destroy everything now because she's embarrassed." I almost laughed. "Yesterday she was your best friend." "Not anymore." Another message came in from Lily. "She's saying you knew about the test and used it as an excuse to dump her because you wanted me." Then another. "She told people you tried to kiss me at the hotel." I read that one twice. Chloe was watching me. I asked, "Did you tell people I tried to kiss Lily?" Her eyes moved away from mine for half a second. That was enough. "Oh, come on." She immediately started talking. "I didn't say it like that." "How do you say that in another way?" "I told my cousin that Lily said you were acting interested." "Did you tell her I tried to kiss Lily?" Chloe rubbed her forehead. I was upset. That's not an answer. Matt had been standing near the bedroom door, and now he said, "Chloe, did you tell people my brother tried to kiss her?" Chloe snapped. "Why are you even here?" Matt said. "Because apparently somebody needs a witness every time Mark talks to you now." She looked at me. "See? This is exactly what you wanted. Everybody against me." I zipped one suitcase and put it on the floor. "No. What I wanted was to get married to someone who trusted me." Chloe started crying again. "I did trust you." I shook my head. "Stop saying that. You rented a hotel room to test whether I'd cheat." I texted Lily, "What exactly is she saying?" She replied almost immediately, "Call me when you're away from her. I have screenshots." Chloe saw Lily's name on the screen and reached for my phone. I pulled it away. "Don't." She stopped. "She's lying." "Maybe. That's why screenshots are useful." Chloe stared at me. "You're seriously going to believe her over me?" I said, "At this point, I believe evidence." That shut her up. I kept packing. I grabbed my work laptop, chargers, some books, the watch my dad gave me, and a box of old photos from the closet. Chloe followed me from room to room. Every few minutes, she tried another angle. We needed counseling. We should postpone the wedding instead of canceling it. We should take a week apart. She'd delete TikTok. She'd stop talking to Lily forever. She'd give me access to her phone. None of it mattered anymore. Every offer sounded like something she should have thought about before setting up the hotel. When I carried the first suitcase downstairs, Chloe stood in front of the door. "I'm not letting you leave like this." Matt straightened up from the couch. I put the suitcase down. "Move!" She shook her head. "Not until you talk to me without him standing there." "We've been talking for an hour." "No, you've been packing while I talk." I looked at her. "Okay, say whatever you need to say." She swallowed and wiped her face. "I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry. I know it was stupid. I know I crossed a line, but I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was scared you'd cheat after we got married and I'd find out when we had kids and a mortgage and everything was harder. I wanted to know before the wedding." I listened without interrupting. When she finished, I said, "And now you know." Her face softened, like she thought she'd finally reached me. I continued, "You know I wouldn't cheat, and I know I can't marry you." She stepped away from the door. "That's cruel." "It's not cruel. You're punishing me forever for one mistake." I picked up the suitcase. "No, I'm making a decision based on what you did," she whispered. "Same thing." I didn't argue. Matt grabbed the second suitcase and we carried everything to his car. I came back once for a couple boxes. Chloe stayed on the couch this time. When I reached the door, she said, "What about the deposits?" I turned around. For a second, I couldn't believe we were already talking about money. Then I realized somebody had to. "Send me a list of what you paid. I'll send you mine. We'll figure it out by email." "Email?" "Yeah. We live together and now I'm supposed to email you?" I said. "For now, yes." Outside, I called Lily. She answered on the first ring. "Finally," I said. "Send the screenshots." "I will. But you need to understand something first." "What?" She took a breath. "Chloe is telling people yesterday wasn't her idea." I leaned against Matt's car. "She already tried that at dinner." "No, it's worse now. She's saying you were flirting with me for days. And that's why she tested you." I closed my eyes. "Are you kidding me?" "I have the original messages, Mark. She was the one telling me what to send you." "Then send them." Lily went quiet. "I'm sorry." I almost laughed. "For which part?" "All of it. I thought it was funny at first, like some dumb TikTok thing. Then it got weird, and I should have stopped." I said. "You still went through with it." "I know." "You hit a camera." "I know." "You told me Chloe would never find out." "I know, okay?" Her voice cracked. "I screwed up." I didn't feel bad for her. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I said, "Just send the screenshots." She promised she would. Before hanging up, she said, "One more thing. Chloe didn't cancel the test Saturday morning." I looked back at the apartment building. "I figured." Lily said, "She texted me 10 minutes before you arrived at the hotel." "What did she say?" Lily was quiet for a second. Then she said, "She told me not to let you leave until I got something on camera." I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Cars were passing behind me, and Matt was loading the last box into his trunk. I finally asked, "Do you still have that message?" Lily said, "Yeah." "Send it." My phone buzzed before we even hung up. The screenshot showed Chloe's message from 1:48 Saturday afternoon, 12 minutes before I reached the hotel. "He might get uncomfortable and try to leave. Don't let him bail too fast. I need something clear on camera, or he'll just deny it later." Under that, Lily had written, "How far do you want me to push?" Chloe replied, "Whatever feels believable." I stared at the screen until Matt walked over and asked what happened. I handed him the phone. He read it and shook his head. "Man, save this somewhere." I already had. I emailed the screenshot to myself and put my phone away. At that point, I wasn't interested in another confrontation. I didn't want Chloe's explanation. I didn't want Lily's apology. I just wanted out. The next 3 days were mostly paperwork and awkward phone calls. I called the venue and canceled my side of the wedding arrangements. I contacted the photographer and DJ. Some deposits were gone. I didn't care. Losing a few $1,000s hurt, but marrying Chloe, because I'd already spent money, would have been the dumbest financial decision of my life. My mom handled a few relatives because I got tired of repeating the story. I told people one thing: the wedding is canceled. Chloe and I are done. I'm not discussing details. That didn't stop people from calling. By Tuesday, 2 cousins had already heard 3 different versions. In one, I'd cheated with Lily. In another, Lily had tried to steal me. In another, Chloe had caught us together at a hotel. That last one was almost impressive because Chloe hadn't even been at the hotel. Lily sent me screenshots from several conversations. Chloe was telling people that she'd only organized the test because I'd been acting distant and because Lily told her I'd flirted first. The messages proved the opposite. Chloe had started talking about testing me before Lily ever contacted me. She'd written, "Mark thinks these loyalty tests are stupid, so he'll never expect it." That sentence bothered me more than it should have. She knew exactly what I thought about this stuff. We'd watched one of those videos months earlier where a woman had her friend flirt with her boyfriend. I'd said, "If you need to do that, just break up. The relationship's already dead." Chloe had laughed and said, "Damn, remind me never to test you." Apparently, she remembered. On Wednesday evening, Chloe showed up at Matt's apartment. He looked through the peephole and said, "You want me to tell her you're not here?" I almost said yes. Instead, I opened the door, but stayed in the hallway. Chloe looked exhausted. She was holding a small paper bag. "Can we talk for 5 minutes?" I said, "Here." She glanced at Matt behind me. "Seriously?" "Yeah." She handed me the bag. Inside were a few things I'd left behind, including my passport and a spare set of truck keys. "Thanks." She nodded. Then she said, "Lily's sending you stuff, isn't she?" I didn't answer. "Mark, she's doing it because she wants you now." I almost laughed. "I don't want Lily. You brought her to my parents' house on your arm because you two wanted a show." Chloe looked down at the floor. "I know." For the first time since dinner, she didn't argue. She didn't blame TikTok or Lily or anxiety. She just stood there and said, "I fucked up." I nodded. "Yeah." "Really bad?" "Yeah." Her eyes filled again. "And there's nothing I can do?" I said, "No." She pressed her lips together and looked away. "Do you still love me?" That one got me. I didn't answer immediately. I could hear Matt moving around inside the apartment, trying to give us privacy without actually leaving me alone. Finally, I said, "That doesn't fix what happened." Chloe nodded slowly. "That's not what I asked." I looked at her. "Yeah, part of me probably does. But I don't trust you anymore." She started crying quietly. "That's so messed up." I said, "I know." There wasn't anything else to say. She left without another argument. I watched her walk to her car, then went back inside. Matt handed me a beer and said, "You good?" I said, "Nope." He nodded. "Fair." That was basically the whole conversation. I appreciated it. I didn't need some speech about moving on or finding someone better. I needed a couch and somebody who wasn't going to ask me 20 questions. That night, I blocked Chloe's number. I blocked her on Instagram, Facebook, and everything else I could think of. I didn't block her email because we still had bills and wedding cancellations to handle, but I created a folder so her messages wouldn't sit in my inbox all day. The engagement ring was still in my backpack. Every time I opened it, I saw the box. I didn't want it. I also didn't want to drive back to the apartment and hand it to Chloe because that would turn into another conversation. So I put it in a small FedEx box with a short note. "This belongs with you. Please don't contact me except about bills or wedding expenses." I sent it with signature required. Maybe that sounds cold. At that point, cold was all I had left. A week passed, then another. By the end of the second week, I thought the whole thing was finally dying down. Then Richard called me. My phone rang around 6 on Thursday evening. I almost ignored it because I didn't recognize the number, but something made me answer. Hello? There was a short pause. Then I heard Richard. Mark, it's Chloe's dad. I sat down on the edge of Matt's couch. Hey, Richard, he cleared his throat. I won't keep you long. I just wanted to say something without everybody yelling around us. I told him okay. He was quiet again. Richard wasn't the kind of guy who talked about feelings much. In 3 years, most of our conversations had been about work, football, cars, or whether the steaks were done. Finally, he said, I'm sorry for what my daughter did. I wasn't expecting that. You don't need to apologize for her. I know, I'm doing it anyway. What happened in my house was embarrassing. Not because you canceled the wedding, because she put you in that position in the first place. I leaned forward with my elbows on my knees. I appreciate that. Richard sighed. She's still my daughter. I love her. I'm not going to sit here and trash her to you. But she was wrong. I said, I know. He gave this tired little laugh. Yeah, I guess you do. Then he told me something I hadn't heard. Chloe and Lily had completely turned on each other after that dinner. Lily had apparently sent screenshots to several people because Chloe kept blaming her. Chloe then accused Lily of trying to steal me for real. Lily told Chloe's co-workers about the entire test. Now they weren't speaking at all. Susan was furious because relatives kept calling about what happened. Richard said, It's been a damn circus over here. I didn't know what to say, so I said, sorry. He immediately answered, Don't be. You didn't start it. Before we hung up, Richard said, For what it's worth, I thought you were going to be a good husband to her. That hit me harder than I expected. I stared at the floor. Thanks, he said. Take care of yourself, Mark. You too. Then the call ended. I sat there holding my phone for a while. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. That's the part people online seem to miss when they hear stories like this. Yeah, Chloe's plan blew up. Yeah, Lily got exposed too. But I'd also lost the woman I thought I was going to marry. My wedding was gone. My apartment was gone. Half my stuff was sitting in boxes in my brother's spare room. There wasn't some moment where I walked away laughing like a badass. Mostly, it sucked. Then Chloe posted the TikTok. Matt found it first. He walked into the kitchen Friday morning holding his phone and said, dude, you might want to see this. I was making coffee. What now? He handed me the phone. Chloe was sitting in her car, crying into the camera. The video already had thousands of views. She never said my name, but anybody who knew us would know exactly who she meant. My fiancé ended our engagement because I gave him a loyalty test, she said, and instead of talking to me privately, he decided to humiliate me and my best friend in front of my entire family. I watched without saying anything. She described the hotel as a normal test that women do all the time. She said I discovered it beforehand and then pretended to fall for Lily so I could embarrass both of them. Then she called me a psychopath. Matt paused the video and looked at me. You want me to report it? I laughed. For what? Calling me a psychopath? I don't know, man. Just play it. Chloe continued crying. She said I'd destroyed her friendship with Lily, embarrassed her parents, ruined thousands of dollars in wedding plans, and refused to forgive one mistake. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Half the people were calling me toxic. The other half were asking why the hell she needed to test the guy she was about to marry. Some women said loyalty tests were completely normal. Other people told her that secretly recording someone in a hotel room was insane. I watched maybe 30 comments scroll past and handed the phone back. Matt asked, You gonna respond? Nope. Seriously? What am I supposed to do? Make my own crying TikTok? He laughed. Please don't. I poured my coffee. I've got the screenshots. My family knows what happened. Her family knows what happened. That's enough. And it was. I didn't want strangers deciding who won our breakup. I didn't want to spend the next month posting receipts and arguing with people who'd never met either of us. Chloe could tell her version. Lily could tell hers. I knew mine. It's been 2 weeks since that dinner now. I found a small apartment, about 15 minutes from work, and I move in next weekend. The wedding is officially canceled. Most of the deposits are gone, but I'll survive. The ring made it back to Chloe. FedEx sent me the delivery confirmation, and she signed for it herself. She emailed me that night with only 4 words. "I wish you'd stayed." I didn't respond. Lily tried messaging me twice after that. The first time she apologized again. The second time she asked if I wanted to get coffee so she could explain everything properly. I blocked her too. Whatever she thought might happen between us after this, she was out of her mind. I don't hate either of them. I just don't want them in my life. The weirdest part is that Chloe still seems convinced the test itself wasn't the problem. According to her TikTok, the problem was how I reacted after discovering it. Maybe some people agree with her. Maybe they think I should have confronted her privately, canceled the hotel thing, gone to counseling and tried to fix it. Maybe walking into that dinner with Lily on my arm was petty. I can admit that. But here's what I keep coming back to. If you're 3 weeks away from marrying somebody and you trust them so little that you need your best friend in a bathrobe, a hotel room, wine, and a hidden camera to find out whether they're loyal, what exactly are you getting married for? So, yeah, the wedding's off, and I still think I made the right call. What would you have done?